The English Revolution has been interpreted in several ways by historians, as a fight between the aristocratic cavaliers, who were open to life, and the serious Puritans, as a battle for power between Parliament and the monarchy over the rights of Englishmen that had been going on for centuries, and as a class war similar to the French Revolution, of which it was a forerunner. Blue is the most popular color. Food researchers disagree. When humans searched for food, they learned to avoid toxic or spoiled objects, which were often blue, black, or purple. When food dyed blue is served to study subjects, they lose appetite.
Some people object that in order for the AI to modify and still remain a useful instrument to its owner, many changes would have had to take place simultaneously. However, it is not necessary to suppose this if the modifications were extremely slight and gradual.
Where there are effects, there are often side effects. The car is a boon to mobility, but can lead to obesity, deaths and pollution. Burning fossil fuel may keep economies going but wreck the climate in the long run. In a similar way, there are side effects to information technology in education setting, from childcare to the classroom to the lecture hall and beyond. Weakness in electronics. Auto and gas station sales dragged down overall retail sales last month. But excluding those three categories, retailers enjoyed healthy increases across the board, according to government figures released Wednesday. Moreover, December sales numbers were also revised higher.
The free market is extremely competitive, and companies are constantly trying to gain an edge over their rivals. Merchandising and brand image play a major role in attracting customers, but they often lead to overpackaging. This is a serious problem since most packaging these days are made of plastics which are not biodegradable. Some people blame the manufacturers for their blatant disregard, while others point the finger at consumers.
The Founding Fathers established constitutional protections for the press because they understood that leaving the watchdog function to partisan politicians wouldn't necessarily serve the public interest. Both sides have too many incentives to preserve the status quo and ignore problems that elude quick fixes.
It isn't rare for private equity houses to hire grads fresh out of business school, he said, but 9 times out of 10, the students nab these jobs are the ones who had private equity experience under their belt before even starting their MBA program.
Surprisingly, despite what appear to be infinite variations, all difficult conversations share a common structure. When you're caught up in the details and anxiety of a particular difficult conversation, this structure is hard to see. But understanding that structure is essential to improve how you handle your most challenging conversations.
The term supernova was coined in the 1930s by a memorably odd astrophysicist named Fritz Zwicky. Born in Bulgaria and raised in Switzerland, Zwicky came to the California Institute of Technology in the 1920s and there once distinguished himself by his abrasive personality and erratic talents. He didn't seem to be outstandingly bright, and many of his colleagues considered him little more than an irritating buffoon.
Food is one of the most important things you'll ever buy. And yet most people never bother to think about their food and where it comes from. People spend a lot more time worrying about what kind of blue jeans to wear, what kind of video games to play, what kind of computers to buy.
Written. Then, a slower create and develop a police force than the rest of Europe. France had one long before indeed. The word police is taken from the French. This fact was not unimportant, as the very idea of a police force was seen as foreign, that is, French, and particularly undesirable, and was generally regarded as a form of oppression.
Studying abroad is a very popular option for students who come from a wealthy family. Most people believe that overseas experience provides a deeper understanding of cultures and develops communication skills. While this may be true, not all of these new experiences are useful for finding a job. Employers tend to value interpersonal skills and industry knowledge more than cultural background. Such an agreement would include recognition that the world must aim as soon as possible to hold global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. A long-term low-carbon future, 5-year updated action plans that recognize the developing climate reality and aid to those countries that did little to cause climate change but are most at risk from it.
Researchers gathered 160 uncaffeinated adults, people who consumed less than 500 milligrams of caffeine a week. These decaf subjects looked at pictures of various objects, then took either a placebo or a pill containing 200 milligrams of caffeine. That's roughly the amount you'd get from 2 cups of coffee.
This will just take a minute. We all know money can't buy happiness, but according to a recent study, there may be a loophole. A team of researchers finds that shelling out for services that save time can bring greater feelings of life satisfaction than, say, simply buying more stuff. The results appear in the proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. Does it feel like everywhere you turn there's more food? Fast food joints like McDonald's and Taco Bell abound, and big box stores like Costco, Walmart and Target sell mounds of groceries. Just the slightest pang of hunger and around the corner there's another restaurant or retailer enticing us to buy more food. Japan's parliament tightened limits on overtime hours, responding to concerns about karoshi, or death by overwork, and seeking to improve productivity in a country where long hours are more a custom than business necessity.
Ministers have rehearsed for the Queen's death for the first time with a secret exercise to prepare for 10 days of national mourning. It has emerged, the run-through, apparently known as Castle-Dove, so cabinet ministers and Whitehall officials discuss D1 the day after the monarch's death. It has been 200 years since the birth of Karl Marx, but the German philosopher's relevance has never been greater. The publication of Marx and Friedrich Engels' The Communist Manifesto in 1848 was not greeted with great fanfare, a reception becoming what is now considered the most influential political pamphlet of all time.
Scientists have determined that the atmosphere above the planet Uranus is full of a gas that makes the distant planet smell like rotten eggs. According to NASA, a global research team dissected infrared light from Uranus and found hydrogen sulfide in the planet's top clouds. Hydrogen sulfide is a colorless, flammable, extremely hazardous gas with a rotten egg smell, according to the Occupational Health and Safety Administration.
A miner in the state of Chiapas found a tiny tree frog that has been preserved in amber for 25 million years. A researcher said, if authenticated, the preserved frog would be the first of its kind found in Mexico, according to David Grimaldi, a biologist and curator at the American Museum of Natural History, who was not involved in the find.
The exponential growth of the internet was heralded in the 1990s as revolutionizing the production and dissemination of information. Some people saw the internet as a means of democratizing access to knowledge for people concerned with African development. It seemed to offer the possibility of leapfrogging over the technology gap that separates Africa from advanced industrialized countries.
On 1815, on the island of Sambor in Indonesia, a handsome and long quiescent mountain named Tambora exploded spectacularly, killing 100,000 people with its blast and associated tsunamis. No one living now has ever seen such fury. Tambora was far bigger than anything any living human has experienced. It was the biggest volcanic explosion in 10,000 years, 150 times the size of Mount St. Helens.
The successor to the Hubble Space Telescope has been delayed yet again, and will not now launch until approximately May 2020. The James Webb Space Telescope is also in danger of busting the cost cap put on the project by the US Congress. Back in 2011, politicians on Capitol Hill said the observatory should not take more than $8 billion to build and $800 million to operate over 5 years in orbit.